According to the Natixis Global Retirement Index, 36% of Americans are afraid they won't have enough money to retire. But since you're a Wall Street survivor, you know that the path to a proper retirement starts early. You have to work hard, start saving now, and make a daily promise to yourself to fulfill your financial goals. But what if you don't want a normal, run-of-the-mill, retirement by 65 type of lifestyle? What if you want to retire early and maximize the amount of time you get to spend vacationing with your family or pursuing the hobbies that you love? Today, we're going to look at some steps and break down the numbers of what it takes to retire by the time you're 40. It's no secret that if you want to retire early, it's going to take a lot of work. On average, you can set yourself up for a pretty healthy retirement if you save 15 to 20% of your income. But again, that's if you retire in your 60s. If you want to retire when you're 40, you probably need to save 50% or more of your income. So that's step number one. In order to do this, you need to make sure your essential expenses like housing and food are minimalized, and you need to spend as little discretionary income as possible. There's no way around it. Unless you earn a ridiculous income, you'll have to make sacrifices with the money you make now so that you can retire earlier and have that in the future. The second thing you'll want to keep in mind is something called the 4% rule. The 4% rule states that on average, you can comfortably withdraw about 4% of your savings and investments if you're earning average market returns on them, which is historically in the stock market around 8%. If you use the 4% rule, you can back into how much money you need to have saved and invested by the time you're 40 in order to retire with a comfortable annual income. For instance, if you have $1 million invested, 4% of that is $40,000. So with $1 million invested in the stock market, according to the 4% rule, you can on average withdraw $40,000 per year and not reduce your principal. The 4% rule is especially important when we're talking about retiring early because you really don't want to be touching the principal or the amount that you've already have saved. You really want to be living off just strictly your interest, considering your nest egg might have to last you upwards of 40 years. So if you're really looking to retire early, it's important to think about that number that you can live off of every year. And the lower that number is, the easier it will be to save up the amount that you need to live off of purely the interest without touching the principal of your invested nest egg. If you've invested $1 million by the time you're 40, you'll have $40,000 to live off of. If you've invested $1.5 million, you'll have $60,000 to live off of. And if you want $100,000 every year to live off of, well, then you'll need to save up $2.5 million by the time you're 40. Another easy way to do this if you don't like percentages is take the number that you want to have as income every year and multiply it by 25. That's how much you'll need to have saved and invested by the time you retire if you don't want to touch your principal. Now let's talk about how much you'll need to save. So going back to our $1 million example where you save up $1 million by the time you're 40, and then for the rest of your life you can live off of 4% of that annually, which is $40,000 a year. That would mean that if you're 21 years old right now and your goal is to retire by 40, you would need to be saving and investing roughly $4,000 a month. Now, that's a huge burden and a sacrifice for a lot of people, and quite frankly, that's more than the average 21-year-old makes. So for a lot of people, that's why retiring early, especially that early, can feel really unrealistic. To start so young and save so much money consistently for 19 years in a row, I would say you have to have some luck, a lot of dedication and persistence, and you can't really afford to take a lot of risks with your income as you'll need a steady income flow for your shortened but still significant career. But every step you take in cutting your costs, increasing your earning potential, investing more and more of your paycheck, and building other streams of income is another step towards financial freedom and retiring early. If you continue to take these baby steps, you'll find yourself super encouraged by your own self-discipline, and you might not even want to end up retiring early. I don't think the goal for most people is to get to a point where one day they can just say, I can be lazy and sit on the couch all day all of a sudden after a lifetime of hard work, dedication, and putting myself in front of a lot of great opportunities. The goal when I talk to people who want to retire early is to have financial freedom, and that's something we can all take steps closer to every single day using some of the stuff we've talked about in this video. So even if you can't retire by 40, I'm sure there's something you can do between now and then to increase your financial freedom and to build habits that will allow you to make money and invest smarter, not harder. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. Subscribe to the Wall Street Survivor channel, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.